What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we are working on the 1996 Toyota Camry wagon again. This is going to apply to the sedan as well. We are replacing the rear window regulator and motor. They come as one assembly. As you can see, this is actually a junkyard unit. I pulled it off of a car at the junkyard. But basically, if you know these old Toyotas, all the window motors always go bad. And this one right here doesn't really work. It'll work for like 5 minutes. So when you first start the car, you can open it and that's fine. And then it stops working. So guess what? You're stuck with it open then. And that has happened to me several times before I finally decided that it's broken and it's time for a new motor. So having said that, let's replace it. To do that, we have to get access to the inside of this door panel. So I'm going to start by removing this door handle trim here. It's easiest to do that with a flathead screwdriver, or if you have a plastic trim tool, you can use that too, but I'm going to use a screwdriver. Come in between these two and pry up and out. Same to the bottom. And I'll show you why you want to do that. There we go. And pull this out. There's a clip here and a clip right here. You want to basically pry those away from the handle itself and then out. Next, remove this cap here. And since I have the pick in my hand, I'm going to push in the center of these two clips here and remove them from the door. Next, I'm going to pop up the window switch. Pop it up from the front and then slide it up and out. It's easiest to disconnect it this way. You can leave it in the door panel if you want, but it's a lot harder to get your fingers down there with the door panel off to disconnect it. So press the little tab, disconnect this. Next, on this side of the door panel, you have two more of these clips here. Push them in and pry them away from the door. At this point, you can get yourself a Phillips head screwdriver, and there's a screw right in there. Take that one completely out. And another screw right in here. Take that one out as well. And these are the only two anchor screws for this door panel. Okay, there you go. The door panel's already loose. If either of these screws don't come out of the door panel, that's fine, just leave them there. I forgot to mention, before you're ready to pop the door panel off, go ahead and remove this trim piece on the edge here, this triangle. At this point, you can pull the door panel out and up. To get to the window motor and regulator, I have to take this vapor barrier out, and I don't want to rip it off, so I'm going to unbolt this door handle, either a Phillips head or 10 millimeter. Okay, take this off. I will rip the vapor barrier up here so I don't disconnect my rods. That's not a big deal if you just rip the end of it there. And here's our window motor with the regulator. Again, this is one unit. So here's the part where I can show you how to easily diagnose if it's a bad motor, a bad switch, or something else. So at this point, you can see it's plugged in. We need to unplug it. This is the wire coming from the car, and I'm gonna get my voltmeter and I'm gonna stick both of the leads in here. Now don't jam them in because you don't want to ruin the connectors, but there should be enough room for you to stick them in here. And it doesn't really matter which way you do it. So assuming your fuses are good, you want to check those first. Always check fuses first. Put the key in the ignition and turn the ignition to the on position. And what you want to do is connect your switch back and then try to power the window. If it's getting power, like you see it is here, it's going to get reverse power in one way and regular the other way. So you can see it's getting power, and when it's connected, it doesn't do anything. So that means I have a bad motor. If it is not getting power and your fuses are good, it could be a switch or it could be a problem with the wiring. So it's that simple. And to test the switch, well, you could either do a continuity test. I don't have a wiring diagram to provide you for which wires do what, so you're gonna have to do a little bit of research, or you can just go to the junkyard, grab a new switch, plug it in, and see if it works. But again, like I said, I'm getting power here, which means I know that my motor is bad. And before I go any further, in order to double check my diagnosis, I'm gonna plug in my new to me motor and power the switch and see if it works. As you can see, the motor works, this one doesn't, so obviously this one's junk. So because this motor does not work, I actually can't put the window down, which is gonna make this a little bit trickier, but still doable. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by removing these wires from here. This one, if you grab it from the back and pinch it, it'll squeeze through. Next, I want to remove this brace here. That'll give me a lot more room to work with. So remove all these 10mm nuts and bolts that are holding everything on. At this point, the regulator, the motor, and obviously the window are only being held on by this nut here and this nut right here. So I'm going to take these off very carefully. Okay, I'm going to hold this so it doesn't fall off. That fell inside the door, but I'm not going to stick my hand in there because if anything happens, the window comes falling down. All right, so I'm going to try it one last time because sometimes it does work. I'm going to tap it a little bit. Sometimes you can wake up motors like that. And I'm going to try and put this window down to hopefully unlock it, because if not, I'm going to have a really huge struggle pushing this bolt through because it's being compressed outward into the door. Oh, it worked. Okay, so that's good news. All right, so I'm going to pull this down. Again, if this doesn't work for you, you can either cut these cables, no big deal, just hold the glass, or you can try to push this stud out. And because this worked for me, I'm going to remove the two 10mm bolts that hold the regulator onto the window. Be very careful. I'm using an impact. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to hold the glass to absorb some of the vibrations. I don't want to accidentally break the glass. Okay, now pull this up and out of your way. Oops, that's still connected. Pull the regulator out. There's a little nub there that it's being held on by. Okay, there you go. It's a little tricky. It's best if you have some tape to tape the window up or another person to hold it. Pull the old one out. I'm going to put in my new one, which will hold the glass for me. As you can see, it lines up right there. The issue is going to be that this regulator is in the fully up position. I know I should have prepared for this, but I didn't, so you're getting real life footage here. So I'll plug it in, bring it down a little bit, and then unplug it, slide it through the top and the bottom, and then you want to let the window come down. The glass will mount behind this plate, not in front, but behind it. Insert the two screws that hold the mounting plate for the glass into the regulator. Before I even snug any of them up, I'm going to start these nuts on so that the regulator has nowhere to go. All right, and now snug these up. Okay, now with the window mounted, if you remember, I dropped one of the mounting nuts down there and I just found it. There it is. I didn't want to do it with the regulator loose because if the window fell, it would obviously hurt. Now that that's in place, go ahead and put this brace back on. And tighten everything up. Okay, re-secure your wires, reattach the motor. That's secured, plug it in. My clip is missing here, but I'm not worried about it. It's not gonna go anywhere. And this one, slide it up and clip it in. At this point, you wanna test it out. Go all the way down and then all the way up. And yes, this is normal. This is all they go down. Close it up. Let's put it all back together. I'm gonna unplug the switch, put your vapor barrier back. Up here, it didn't have any butyl tape. It was just held on by the door handle. So secure that back in its spot. And the rest of it, try to stick it to the butyl tape that's there. If it doesn't work, you can use some duct tape or, I don't know, do whatever you have to do. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it kind of has to be there. Mine's not gonna really stay on very much, not gonna lie. Bring your wire through the door panel and line this up at the top. Press it down. So these little push clips that you had to push in to remove, you now have to push out. And when they're out like this, that's when you can insert them. Make sure this hole lines up, push it in. And to lock them in, you make them flush like this. So this is for installation, this is locked in, and this is for removal. Okay, I'm gonna put in my little corner piece. Continuing with trim pieces, put in the door handle cover. It's got a little hook on the back of it. Make sure that hooks onto that metal piece before you press it in. And start in the 2 anchor screws. This one stayed inside the door, which is fine. Make them nice and snug. Put in your window switch. Make sure it clicks. Slide it in and lock it down. So that's how you replace the rear window motor on a 1996 Camry. Obviously this is applicable to a large year range. I'm going to put it in the title and the description and all that, so you can check that out. And if it's not identical to this, it'll serve as a guide to show you in general how to replace it. And I'm sure a lot of 90s Camrys and early 2000s are going to have a very similar setup. And no, this is not just for the wagon. So having said that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and maybe share if you feel like it. And I'll see you in the next one.